This audio presentation of the divine Pymander of Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus, an Egyptian philosopher in 17 books, translated formerly out of the Arabic into Greek and thence into Latin and Dutch, and now out of the original into English by the learned divine Dr. Everard, is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2014. All rights reserved. Introduction. Judicious reader, this book may justly challenge the first place for antiquity from all of the books in the world, being written some hundreds of years before Moses' time, as I shall endeavor to make good. The original, as far as it is known to us, is Arabic, and several translations thereof have been published as Greek, Latin, French, Dutch, etc., but never English before. It is a pity that the learned translator, Dr. Everard, is not alive, and received himself the honor and thanks due to him from the Englishmen for his good will to and the pains for them, in translating a book of such infinite worth out of the original into their mother tongue. Concerning the author of the book itself, 4 things are considered, vis-a-vis his name, learning, country, and time. 1. The name by which he was commonly titled is Hermes Trismegistus, or Mercurius Ter Maximus, or the thrice greatest intelligencer. And why might he be called Hermes? For he was the first intelligencer in the world, as we read of, that communicated knowledge to the sons of men, by writing or engraving. He was called Ter Maximus for some reasons which I shall afterwards mention. 2. His learning will appear as by his works, so by the right understanding the reason of his name. 3. For his country he was king of Egypt. 4. For his time it is not without much controversy betwixt those that write of his divine ancient author in what time he lived in. Some say he lived after Moses' time, giving his slender reason for it, vis-a-vis because he was named Ter Maximus, for being prefaced Franciscus Flusser, according to the Egyptian customs, being chief philosopher, to be chief of the priesthood, and from thence to be chief in the government or king. But if this be all their ground, you must excuse my dissent from them, and that for this reason, because according to the most learned of his followers, Geber, Paracelsus, Henricus, Nolus, in Theoria Philosophica Hermetica, Tractate Primo, he was called Ter Maximus for having perfect and exact knowledge of all things contained in the world, which things he divided in 3 kingdoms, as he calls them, mineral, vegetable, animal, which 3 he did excel in the right understanding of also, because he attained to and transmitted to posterity, although in an enigmatic and obscure style, the knowledge of the quintessence of the whole universe, which universe, as I said before, he divided into 3 parts, otherwise called the great elixir of the philosophers, which is the receptacle of all celestial and terrestrial virtues, which secret may ignorantly deny many have chargeably sought after, yet few, but some, yea, and Englishmen, Ripley, Bacon, Norton, etc., have happily found. The description of this great treasure is said to be found engraved upon a Smergdine table in the valley of Ebron after the flood. So that the reason before alleged to prove this author to live after Moses seemed invalid, neither does it anyway appear that he lived in Moses' time, although it be the opinion of some, as of John Functius, who said in his Chronology that he lived 21 years before the law was given by Moses in the wilderness. But the reason that he and others give are far weaker than those that I shall give for his living before Moses' time. My reasons for that are these. First, because it is received amongst the ancients that he was the first that invented the art of communicating knowledge to the world, by writing or engraving. Now if so, then on probability he was before Moses, for it is said of Moses that he was from his childhood skilled in all the Egyptian learning, which would not well have been without the help of literature, which we never read of any before that invented by Hermes. Secondly, he is said by himself to be son of Saturn, and by others to be scribe of Saturn. Now Saturn, according to historians, lived in a time of Sarug, Abraham's great-grandfather, shall but take in Sudis his judgment, and so rest satisfied that he did not live only before, but long before Moses. His words are these: Credo, Mercurium, Trismegistum, Sapientem, Egyptium, Floris, ante Pharaonium. In this book, though so very old, is contained more true knowledge of God and nature than in all the books in the world beside, except only sacred writ. And they that shall judiciously read it, and rightly understand it, may well be excused from reading many books, the authors of which pretend so much to the knowledge of the Creator and creation. If God ever appeared in any man, he appeared in him, as it appears by this book. That a man who had not the benefit of his ancestors' knowledge, being, as I said before, the first inventor of the art of communicating knowledge to posterity by writing, should be so high a divine, and so deep a philosopher, seems to be a thing more of God than of man. And therefore it was the opinion of some, Goropius Becanus, that he came from heaven, not born upon earth. There is contained in this book that true philosophy, without which it is impossible ever to attain to the height and exactness of piety and religion. According to this philosophy, I call him a philosopher, that shall learn and study the things that are, and how they are ordered and governed, and by whom, and for what cause, or to what end. And he that doth so will acknowledge thanks to and admire the omnipotent Creator, preserver, and director of all these things. And that he shall be thus truly thankful, may truly be called pious and religious. And he that is religious shall more and more know where and what the truth is, and learning that, he shall yet be more and more religious. The glory and splendor of philosophy is in endeavoring to understand the chief good as the fountain of all good. Now how can we come near to or find out the fountain, but by making use of the streams as a conduit to it? The operations of nature are streams running from the fountain of good, which is God. I am not of the ignorant and foolish opinion of those that say, the greatest philosophers are the greatest atheists, as it is to know the works of God and to understand his going forth in the way of nature, must necessitate a man to deny God. The Scripture, Job 38, disapproves of this as a sottish tenet, and experience contradicts it. For behold, here is the greatest philosopher, and therefore the greatest divine. Read understandably this ensuing book, and for thy help thou mayest make use of that voluminous Hannibal Ofeli Alabar commentary written upon it. Then it will speak more for its author than can be spoken by any man, at least by me. Thine in the love of truth, J.F. End of introduction.